Hey everybody, this is PJ Reilly from Competition Archery Media out here at the Easton Southwest Shootout, the second ASA of the season in Paris, Texas. We're here for another episode of the Mathews Shot of the Week. I'm of course here with Dan McCarthy. And Dan, first off, before we get into what we're going to do today, you had a pretty good day today.
Decent day, I'll take it.
You're our leader,
yes.
co-leader,
Yep.
After day one. Tell us about the round, because it started out nice, it started raining.
So it's dark in here. It's actually pretty dark. So I tried to make as many points up as I could early, tried to get as many of them. Then it started pouring, and it was raining hard, and I completely backed off. That causes a lot of people will shoot some 8s, and you don't necessarily have to be aggressive. So I kind of backed off. I hit over everything. I still thought I'd hit a couple of them. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I missed them all. And everybody else actually just kept shooting well, and kind of catching up and keeping up. And I think Andy did about the same thing because we were kind of about the same pace. And then I hit that long string of 10s and finished with 2 12s when the rain stopped again to cap the round out.
So let's talk about that as a strategy. So as you mentioned, you backed off when that rain came. Is it the lighting? Is it the rain? What is it that tends to make people miss?
It's a lot of it. It's not necessarily that you're causing you to miss. It's just tough to be really aggressive when you can't see that well. Okay. It's so dark when those storm clouds come over. It kind of messes with your depth perception. It messes with your vision a little bit. It's hard to see knocks. It's hard to see definition on a target. And so it's just really easy to aim in the wrong spot. And when you're aiming at a corner 12, it's just easy to get a ½ inch off or something.
Gotcha.
If you could see it really well, go for it. But sometimes bows get a little wet and it moves your impact maybe a ½ inch or something. If it moves it in the wrong way or your strings get really wet or something, it's just I've done it for a long time, and for me, my strategy when it really starts raining is just don't try to do anything special. Just
Gotcha.
More eliminate mistakes instead of trying to make really good, really perfect 12 shots.
I did stand behind Danny Evans and watch him let down twice. He kept looking off his scope. It was at the bless buck, so
Yeah.
a black target.
Yeah.
And
Dark
I could
brown.
tell he was really fighting to see something.
Yep, and sometimes you're in that situation though where you need them, and
Yeah.
hopefully I wasn't thankfully in that situation today, and so I was able to not be aggressive during that and just try to minimize mistakes. I was hoping I could get through the round without an 8, and right before the rain stopped, I shot an 8 on a turkey, and that was my only 8 for the round. But
Well,
it happens.
we got one down here that I know is going to cause me problems because I really can't see in this dark stuff. So let's go check this one out. All right, Dan. So this one is the Leopard. And I picked this one, one, because we were just about to watch you shoot it. And second, because it's far. It's a narrow shooting lane. Everybody will get to see it here in a second, but there's things coming in. There's actually a tree in front of it, and that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about with this target is there's a tree right in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I have a good reference to that. That's what I'm using. But then where my question comes in is how far is it then from the tree to the Leopard?
Well, I mean, when I run into that situation, sometimes I'll judge a tree or I'll judge a log or something, or sometimes there's a log across the ground, you lose the ground for 4 or 5 yards or 7, 10 yards or a hump or something like that. So if I run into that situation, I practice that a lot, trying to get an idea of what that gap might look like. Sometimes a lot of people see me move side to side.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times what I'm doing is I'll look at kind of how much those two objects are moving. It gives me an idea what might be behind them.
Yeah, okay.
But it's really comes down to what you feel most confident in. Like, are you more confident that you're judging that tree right, or are you more confident that you're judging that
I'm more
animal?
confident in the tree.
See, I'm the opposite. So generally for me, the only thing that stays the same from Texas to Florida to everywhere is the target.
Yeah.
And so the foliage changes, the size of the foliage changes, as everything blooms and greens up and leaves get bigger, or you go from scrub oaks to palmettos to whatever. the tree sizes change, the leaves change, and I just don't put a whole lot of stock in my ability to judge.
Gotcha.
This tree to the next one. I mean, there's some trees out here that are, 7 feet.
Yeah.
Around, and then that one's small.
Smaller.
So I put more faith in my guess of what the target looks like.
All right, gotcha.
But
All right, well,
to each their own.
I'll tell you, I'm seeing, don't tell me what it is, but I'm seeing 45 to the target, and I think if anything, I'm low. So I'm thinking 45 to 50, but I don't think he's 50.
That's a big spread.
I know. Hey, I misjudged one last week at a local shoot by 14 yards, so.
I've misjudged plenty, so no judgment. I'm just saying, when you start out with that big of a spread, you're pretty much telling yourself that you're not confident in it, and it's really hard to make a decent shot when you have a 5 yard thing at this kind of a distance. So, like, what do you think if you had to choose a number, like
life or death?
You have to. I mean, you have to set your sight on something, and then you have to make a good shot.
Life or death, I'm going to
say... let's just say it doesn't matter. Like, it's just a guess. If you were to just click it with your rangefinder and there was no penalty for being wrong or a bonus for being right, what would you shoot it for?
I would say I would shoot it for 47.
Okay.
If I'm thinking 45, but also 50, but I don't think he's 50, 47. I feel comfortable with that. I feel like I'm going to hit it somewhere. I watched Steve Anderson miss 2 targets
Aim over
today.
the leg.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the dark ones especially. So for me, I have to take my glasses off to shoot. So then I can see nothing. If I took this off now, it's super blurry. But through my peep and everything, it's clear. So the bottom half of the target is dark, and that gives me problems. It just pulls me down into that.
Sure. This target's hard for a lot of people to aim because they try to aim off of the dots. And it's so easy to mix those dots up. So what I try to aim off is the shapes. So I look at, I try to find a very unique shape of brown. So brown and black. Like if you look right here, look in the armpit of it. You see how you see multiple blacks, but they come up into a triangle, and then you have brown that kind of goes up and down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So when I draw back, it'll be probably the only patch of brown and black that makes that shape. And then I'll try to aim off of that. Even though it's individual black, patches, little clovers down there, I like to do that on this target because it really gives me a more distinct or unique aiming reference instead of saying, okay, I have to go maybe 1, 2, 3 black dots up and then 2 right, because you might draw back, and because of that shadow that you're talking about, as that stomach rolls over, it gets really dark down there. When you draw back, you can't always see those black individual dots, and so you might miss one, and then you count 1, 2, 3, and then over 2, and you're actually aiming in the wrong, completely wrong spot.
I have not looked at it with binoculars, I should say, to see where that is, but I like that. So the bigger the aiming reference I have, okay, I can see that. Yeah, it's totally different through here.
Yes.
I mean, that sounds common sense, but I was thinking of the lighting. The lighting, when I look through here, there is no shadow. I can see exactly where I'm supposed to go. As soon as I come down, it's totally different. But I can see that aiming reference that you're talking about. Hey, we'll see what happens. I better make sure I set my sight first, though. All right. So, I will ask, so what is the rule on letdowns? Let's say I come up there.
You get 2 letdowns, a third one it has to fire.
I cannot move my sight.
Once you, you can look through binos and then move it or whatever, but once you draw back, once you hit full draw, then you can't readjust your sight.
Okay, but I can let down. I may do that. him just straight low.
Yep.
50?
Yeah, he's out there.
I knew it.
That target for me, I put 51
Oh, you did?
down on the lower 12, and
Yeah,
I hit just over the top of it.
No kidding.
Yeah, I hit right over it. It looked a long ways for me.
Well,
but like I said, this is where it was raining, and I really judged this target for right around 50. But it was raining, and I thought, well, I don't want. Sometimes that rain will, make you hit a little low too, and so I thought just put one down in it and execute a really good shot, and I hit straight line right over top of it. So
my shot felt perfect, and it's in line. But
Yep.
yeah, I was just
Straight
off
low,
by that
2 yards.
yardage. I didn't want to think 50. I just didn't. I don't know why. But hey, let's go down and take a look at it.
This is what makes this game tough. Is just sometimes you see it. This stuff, judging is so difficult because sometimes you judge it and you, like you said, you had the right number in your head for a second. You said, I don't know, it's like 7 or maybe 50, but I don't think it's quite 50. And a lot of times you just talk yourself out of the right number.
I did.
You seen it, like something in your gut said it might be that far.
Yeah.
And that's really what I try to judge from is
this gap from this tree here to the target is farther than I thought it was.
Yeah. And it often happens too.
Oh, that just made the 8 split the line there. But I mean, I'm right below the 12.
Yeah.
It was.
And so, like from the naked eye back there, like all of these little arrow holes, you could never see that.
No.
But it's so hard, and that's why I said I try to aim off of more of this brown shape in relation to how these shadows, because what I'm going to see when I draw back is more of a zoom, because we call them like 6 powers or 5 powers in archery, but they're realistically they're like 2.3 power, so it's not much magnification, and so you really can't see as much as detail as what you would like to. But if it's really well lit, I can see this, but this looks more like a black dot than 4 individual marks.
Yeah, I actually used the white because that glowed, and then I knew it was over in this area. But the shot felt good. The pin was sitting where I wanted it. Just 50. You said 50.
It's
51,
probably
so
50. I think I put
3-4 yards.
I put
off.
51. I want to say right here, and I hit somewhere right in this area.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, hey.
But I didn't have the confidence or the
hey, but
whatever to go for it.
That's one of the things that I appreciate so much about what you guys do, is that skill of knowing the difference between 47 and 50 yards.
Well, the biggest thing is we don't always know the difference. That's the biggest thing. It's just a risk. It's risk, and when I look at long targets like that, sometimes the number jumps out at me, and I'm like, man, I've shot 200 targets in the past couple weeks, and I've shot that leopard a long ways, a lot, and he looks 50. That thing looks 50, and when I see that, I'm gonna roll it. I'm gonna go for it. Yeah. But under the circumstances today with rain and everything, I take all that into consideration, and it's just like I want the 12, but I don't want an 8. For me, I just decided, like, I hope I hit this one with that, but I realistically know that should put me in a 10. Should. And I thought the same thing on the turkey, and that didn't work. So I shot an 8 on that one.
Well, thanks a lot, Dan. The thunder is rolling in,
yes.
So we want to get out of here. Folks, that's another episode of the Mathews ASA Shot of the Week. Thanks for joining us. The expert here, of course. If I could just get inside there and get all that to work.
You don't even want to be inside this head.